Welcome to Andor. It's the podcast where every week we'll analyze and scrutinize the Star Wars series Andor 7 minutes at a time. I'm Rusteen Honardoost.
I'm Alex Wallenetz.
We have friends everywhere, and today we're joined by our friend, film journalist, critic, staff writer at Slash Film, and contributor to Discussing Film and That Hashtag Show, and many more, Bill Bria. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Greetings and salutations, folks.
Thanks so much for coming, Bill. Can you tell us about your history with Star Wars, and how did you come to find the show Andor?
Surely. As I think most Star Wars fans, stories go, it's a pretty long and complicated one, so I'll try to keep the Cliff's Notes version going here. It all started when I couldn't even tell you the age exactly, probably somewhere around the age of 6 or 7. I was still living where my family lived at that time, which was Long Meadow, Massachusetts. My brother was very young, so I'm guessing this was about like 1989 or 1990, somewhere around there. Because he had just been born a couple years earlier, and so he was like 2 or 3. And we were left alone in the house for, a few moments by my parents because they had to go do their parenting things. And my brother being, the little scamp that he is and always has been, he was looking through my family's collections of VHS tapes, and mostly bought by my father. And, would look at the boxes and get all excited about watching one of them. And he saw the tape for Star Wars, the VHS of the original, A New Hope. Star Wars. And so he was like, Billy, I want to watch this. And I pulled out the VHS because I'm the responsible older brother here and I'm in charge, everything like that. So I look at the VHS tape. I've never heard of this movie before.
Okay.
It's attractive, obviously, but I'm like, I don't know what this is. Never heard of it. It's rated PG. So I don't know. It could be too intense for you, James. So I better just sit and watch it with you for, a few minutes to make sure it's going to be okay and not scare you or whatever. So
be his trip sitter.
Be the trip sitter and be the, again, I thought at the time I was such a responsible adult and I was like 6 or 7. So,
This is the Darth Vader cover of VHS?
Yeah, this was I think it was the Hildebrandt or, that version of, I don't know what the artist is, but the classic, like holding the lightsaber above,
Oh, so not the 90s re-releases.
Yeah, not the 90s release. This was like probably a copy from the early or mid 80s.
Okay.
So it had that one sheet poster art. I don't know who the artist was actually.
Yeah, Greg Hildebrandt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. So anyway, pop that in, pretty captivated right away. And, it was one of those instances where it was a movie I was intending to only watch for like a few minutes and then, wrapped the entire 2 hours and however long it is. By the end, I was, cheering and going, go Luke, go Luke, go Luke. And my mom had come home by this point and she was mad at me because she was like, we have to go to karate class. You can't stay and watch the rest. And I said, no, I have to find out what happens. So I did. And I was, I was forever changed. I credit watching that movie as being sort of the next step in my evolution as a fan of just art in general, but also obviously, genre stuff. I'd already been introduced to horror via, Ghostbusters.
Okay.
And being a fan of that. So I kind of used that as my first milestone, but this was the next one with, science fiction fantasy. And so from then on, I was just a nut about not just Star Wars, but also sci-fi fantasy stuff and, just sort of, consumed as much as possible. Saw of course, the other sequels. The way I saw those sequels, by the way, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, I had a friend from school at the time. His name was Steven, and I remember his last name. So if you're listening, Steven, I remember your last name, but I'm not going to say it just for legal purposes. Went over his home and, told him, I think I told him literally at the public pool the next day, Steven, have you seen this movie? It's called Star Wars. It's amazing. And he's like, yeah, I've seen it. I've seen them all. There's more. And I'm like, there's more. And by the way, this was like an old CBS Fox VHS tape that we had of the first Star Wars. So it ended or even began with like a teaser of like the other videos in the series. So literally, I think maybe even before Star Wars, the movie played on that VHS tape, you have a clip of Luke from Jedi talking to Yoda in bed where he's like, is Darth Vader my father? And I was like, is it?
Yeah, is he? Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Really starting in media res.
Really just in media res, like just throw all the spoilers out. So anyway, talk to Steven. He's like, yeah, come over. We'll watch the other ones. What I did not know is that the copies of Empire and Jedi, and I assume the first Star Wars too, that he had were special versions that were prepared for him by his grandmother, where she edited out all of the potentially offensive bits of these movies. So
no Yoda. Yoda's out.
I watched a heavily edited personally edited versions of the sequels. So the biggest edit I can remember is the Rancor fight from Jedi. It began with the door lifting, the Rancor's there, he's breathing hard, Luke's scared. Cut to the jailer crying over the dead Rancor. And I'm like, I guess I could figure out what happened, but gee.
What incredible montage. Just like all that negative space between those two cuts. You
and
have
that
to
grandmother,
imagine.
the inventor of clean flicks.
Yeah, no, she kind of went on to do that, I'm sure.
She was actually like a French new wave editor, just really getting avant-garde with what you could do with editing.
And her name was Mrs. Grace, and Topher was her son. He went on to edit the prequel versions of whatever, that in 90-minute edit of all three. Anyway, but that didn't deter me. I eventually did see the full movies unedited, on their own VHSs. And, from there, it was just like a classic story of like a Gen X or elder millennial Star Wars fandom journey of, getting super excited when Heir to the Empire came out. I remember where I was at Borders Books in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where my family moved to. I remember seeing the book cover and being like, oh my God, they're doing new Star Wars, sort of thing. Read that trilogy by Timothy Zahn's like super, fast. I was a huge PC gamer. So, I played X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Rebel Assault, oh my God, Dark Forces, of course. All of those LucasArts games that just like kept, the fandom rabid and alive, that sort of thing. Got super excited with the special edition releases in 97, and I guess was young enough that I wasn't originally super offended by the additions, but already was a little bit of a uncertainty there in terms of like, why did they do that?
Lucas saw what your friend's grandma did and took some inspiration of like, I could re-edit these.
Yeah.
There's room to tighten this up.
That was actually a pretty good idea. And then of course had the whole prequel release experience of, oh, wow, it's so great that there's new Star Wars. I think I like this a lot. Maybe I don't like this that much. Maybe I hate it. Maybe it's terrible. And then, now we've come around to like, oh, there's parts that are good sort of thing.
Nostalgia comes for everyone.
Nostalgia comes for everyone.
People are nostalgic for that 2000 Godzilla movie now. Which,
98.
You're 98.
Or are you talking about Final Wars or
the Roland Emmerich?
The Roland Emmerich, 98,
which
people
is
were nostalgic for 2008.
I saw people nostalgic for 2016 now, which is crazy to me.
It was the first bad, this is the worst year ever. I don't know what, yes.
Right. But it was maybe marginally less worse than this worst year ever.
It was the one that Trump won in.
Yeah.
Look, I agree. I am not nostalgic. I'm only reporting back what I'm seeing on Instagram and TikTok, okay?
Oh, true. No, I think the thing about, not to get on a tangent, but the thing about nostalgia is that it's always, part and parcel of like how old you were at the time of a certain era and how much responsibility you had and how much awareness you had, because if you were lucky enough to be young at whatever time, at whatever era, it doesn't matter if it's right now in 2026, like people will be nostalgic for this year. I guarantee it, if we all survive until, 30 years from now. But,
if the world survives long enough for you to hear this episode.
Yeah. So if you're 10 years old right now, then you can come back to this later and, hopefully you're still breathing air.
The Mr. Beast Legacy sequel that brings him back, and the whole team together.
If you're not having to wear a hazmat suit outside every day, then you'll probably, enjoy what I just said. But yeah, so it carried me through that. I did get big into a lot of ancillary material, like in the 90s, as I was saying, the novels.
It's a Rusteen episode.
The comic books, Dark Empire,
totally.
The Dark Horse stuff. And I don't think I actually have like a date or a year. Maybe it was the prequels, but then again, in my life, I was dealing with a lot when the prequels were coming out too. Like in 2005, when Revenge of the Sith was released, I was getting ready for my first big, medical surgery that I had to have, which I had a colectomy, which then ended up giving me a J pouch instead of a colon. And I remember it was scheduled for like June-ish of 2005. And I think May was when Sith was coming out. And I remember, arranging a midnight screening of it because my mom, just apropos of nothing, but obviously on topic, she was like, yeah, I was listening to the radio or something or talking to a colleague or friend of mine. And he has, some form of cancer, which is way worse than anything I had. And he was like, I just have to see Revenge of the Sith before I die or something. And I was like, well, kind of true, but also, ooh.
I know that feeling very well.
Right?
I had a major heart surgery like around that same time. And just the naivety of childhood of like, well, I have to survive because I got to see the new Star Wars eventually.
But, and this is to my point, it also tells us, like, very illustrative, I think, of like when this franchise used to be still an event, you know, like it's not every day, it's not every year that you can get new Star Wars. So you gotta, you know, survive until then, sort of thing. But nonetheless, I think
why I'm going to live forever, because I'm going to wait for the Dream of Spring to come out, and it will never come out.
But I think already by that point, I had started to become more agnostic towards the franchise in terms of I really downpedaled in terms of like, because I do tend to be with stuff I love, fandoms I love, franchises I love. I do want to consume as much as possible.
Yeah.
Whenever I play, if I play a video game, if I allow myself time for that, I'm the type to like explore every room, try to find every, you know, collectible or whatever. And it takes a really long time, as opposed to most normal people will play a video game in a normal amount of time. So I had to sort of, you know, downpedal myself in terms of like, okay, I don't need to read every novel. I don't need to get every comic book. I don't need to blah, blah, blah. Don't need to play every game. And that's kind of how I saw, you know, something like Star Trek too, where it's like by that point there was already so much material on that end of that franchise, and, you know, obviously Marvel Comics or what have you. So, by the time the sequel trilogy came out, of course, super excited, you know, loved those movies, and I do. Some more than others, obviously, but, you know, I still enjoyed the experience of them in general in terms of like they did feel again like the resurrection of that event to Star Wars. And then obviously, you know, the shows started, and when Mandalorian began, I of course was initially liked it a lot, you know, intrigued. I think it really had a good vibe in terms of it was obviously connected to the films, but it didn't feel so beholden to them, and it didn't feel so essential as to be like, if you miss an episode or even a season, you're not going to miss out on like the whole thing or something like that.
But
you know?
I think it still managed to feel like an event on television.
Yeah, no, it did.
Like
it did.
They still were able to capture that, and I think like the kind of twist reveal of Baby Yoda at the end played a big part of that. That like it kind of got you in the door with cool Mandalorian action.
Yeah.
But then gave you something to talk about afterwards of like, what the fuck is that little green guy?
Oh, sure. No, and the point I'm trying to get at is that I don't feel like it ever felt at the beginning as something that was intended to replace the films. It was there as like ancillary material, which is great. And I feel like that changed obviously during the course of that series.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point it became, you know, a flagship, which maybe it shouldn't have ever been.
Also, the Crowberries cried about Luke too much, so they had to bring back a new, better Luke.
Right.
That was the Luke that you wanted.
Right. Yeah, it became like sort of this, you know, proving ground or dumping ground, whether, you know, depending on how you want to look at it, for Disney, Lucasfilm, to be like, okay, here you go, you know, here's everything that you kind of want and sort of thing. And Dave Filoni and all of that, and, you know. So I think by the time Andor began, I was already pretty jaded on just the franchise, the way it was going in general. I think the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was before the first season of Andor, or am I wrong?
I think after.
After?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was after.
Because I remember I was like all in. I'm like, okay, I'm back in.
But Book of Boba
I'm
Fett.
not.
Wait, Book of Boba Fett before or after?
When did we open the book?
First. Yeah, when did we open that book?
Book of Boba Fett was after the first season too.
Okay, because there was a pretty big gap between season 1 and 2 of Andor.
Yeah.
Anyway, despite Book of Boba Fett and the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, really...
Okay, it was Mandalorian, and then Mandalorian 2, then the Book of Boba Fett, then Obi-Wan Kenobi was first.
Yeah, it was.
Then it was season 1 of Andor.
That's what I thought.
Just a few months later.
Right, because...
Then Mandalorian 3, then Ahsoka.
Yeah, because after Obi-Wan show, I was really jaded on, you know, the Disney Star Wars, like, Disney Plus stuff. And I was like, okay, I might be out, like, for a good time. I've still, to this day, have never seen the Ahsoka show.
Okay.
And I've not seen, there was something else.
Skeleton
Crew and Acolyte, yeah. Which I feel bad about those latter two. I feel like I should give those a chance.
Acolyte, I think, was a really good pitch that got nuked in the room, or Disney nuked it. Because I think, my guess is it was pitched as, what if we did Star Wars Rashomon?
Oh, okay.
But then we couldn't really do anything that would be too upsetting for the Jedi to do.
Right.
So it kind of like had to back away from that.
Right.
But Skeleton Crew, I love.
Skeleton Crew hits all of the things that like you want that like nostalgic Star Wars thing to do. It's got great like creature effects. It's got really great characters, and like the journey they're going on is very fun and gets to go to all these cool places. There's an episode where they go to like a what's the
sauna?
Yeah, the sauna that's like Spirited Away. It's like a Spirited Away like sauna with all these like great little like Star
giant
Wars
creatures
aliens.
in like spas. And
Yeah.
Which is amazing. So we're much bigger defenders of skeleton crew on this show than we are of the
especially somebody who like hates the Goonies.
Okay.
I was like, I'm not in on this at all. And I'm like, oh, in spite of that, it's actually quite good.
Okay.
It also, I think, we're not sure if accidentally or not, makes a very interesting political point.
Yeah.
Which is that like all empires eventually create like suburban like Virginia.
Right.
They're like the richest people in the galaxy would like create the suburbs, and that's just what happens.
Yeah.
It's like kids growing up in the suburbs. I don't know if it's intentional
where you
or
can
not.
be cloistered away from the chaos of the outside world, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know how intentional that was or not, but it's there.
Right.
That reading of it's there.
So anyway, I say all this to say that like by the time Andor rolled around, I was both jaded on just the franchise in general, and I have to say too, it's also partly the realities of my job in my profession in terms of just having to watch so much that at a certain point, if it's not something that you're deliberately assigned to, or it's not part of your beat or whatever, it's like I don't have time for that, and that's not something that's drawing me in, so I'm gonna move on and focus on something else. So, and it wasn't anything that I wasn't like yet so jaded to the point where I kind of am now on the eve of the release of Mandalorian and Grogu of I don't know if we should still be doing this sort of thing. I'm a little bit at that place now with just the franchise in general, and not feeling like it has a direction. And don't get me started on Sean Levy, because we'll never end this episode. But it's something where I didn't expect to be there.
If Star Wars was in a better place, The Mandalorian and Grogu would have been like a Disney Plus movie. That, it's the move to wrap it up. But because they had such a big gap on the calendar, they're like, "What's the harm?"
May as well put it out.
Might as well.
It out there.
Yeah. So I think Andor, even the first couple episodes of the first season, I watched. I think I was given a screener by the press contact, and it was maybe assigned to like the team at Slash Film for the initial coverage or something. And I remember sitting through the first 3 episodes and going, there is definitely a distinctive voice to this thing, more than the other Disney Plus shows, more than any other Star Wars I'd seen before. It felt like, and yet I wasn't fully in until I would say the heist arc. And at that point, I was like, "Oh, this could be going somewhere, really kind of brilliant." And then by the end of the season, the first season, I was like, "Well, this might be one of the best things that Star Wars has ever done." So, and I want to say too, obviously, been a big fan of Rogue One. I know that that's weirdly a divisive film for a lot of Star Wars fans, but I was on board from the release of that. And not only am I a Gareth Edwards fan, which he has, some involvement with that, but also Gilroy. And Gilroy coming from not just, Michael Clayton and stuff, but the Bourne film, which I felt have a similar blend of really well-researched geopolitical, sociological material combined with, sort of genre fun of like, it's a heist, but it's also like a super, diatribe on these political issues and everything like that. So I felt he brought a very similar vibe to Andor, which where I really appreciated.
Yeah, his kind of superpower was being able to put that subtext into these great like genre exercises. Like I don't think he had like. I wonder which franchise he cared more about before he wrote it, Jason Bourne or Star Wars.
Zero.
He might honestly care more about Jason Bourne than
he did direct the Bourne Legacy. He was, which I will defend. I know people, Bourne fans are like, what the hell? And I'm like, I kind of vibe with it. There's some really cool parts of that movie.
I've not seen a project that Tony Gilroy has actually been open about excited he was making. Even when we saw him talk about Michael Clayton, he's like, I just want to get something made. Like, he didn't even seem that excited about the project. Yeah.
He's a working screenwriter, you know, and I think that level of just dedication to the craft of writing really helped to elevate Andor beyond, because like...
No, that's not true. He was really excited about The Great Wall.
Yeah.
I'll defend that too.
Have you seen it?
I have seen The Great Wall.
Is it good?
Zhang Yimou? Yeah. I mean, it's a siege movie. Enemy at the gates with these giant, like, weird dragon creature things that Matt Damon is having to slice up, and Pedro Pascal is there for some reason too.
Add it to the list. We're gonna do.
I want to cover the films of Tony Gilroy through this show.
That's a great idea.
So we'll put you on the list for the Great Wall episode.
Look, just because Jimmy Kimmel turned it into a Matt Damon punchline, like, come on, give it a chance, guys.
In honor of its 10th anniversary.
Is it really?
Is it really? Oh God,
2016.
Getting old.
Jesus
That's why everyone's.
Christ.
That's why
we're so nostalgic for
2016.
2016. Yeah. Remember when The Great Wall came out, guys?
Nothing but hope for the future of cinema. China was going to save us.
China, come on, guys. We put a whole ass different ending on Iron Man 3 for you, where a Chinese doctor saves Tony Stark's life. Yeah, that wasn't enough?
I finally watched Pacific Rim 2, and
Oh,
that is
Uprising,
a movie
yeah.
that when you watch it, you're like, oh, this movie is not for us. This is like a movie for an entirely different audience.
Yeah.
Which was quite bizarre. Same with The Meg 2.
Oh,
where
yeah.
like half of these movies
Yeah.
are like in Chinese because
Yeah. The Meg 2, like, yeah, a movie for the Chinese market and yet directed by an English
Ben
provocateur.
Wheatley.
Yeah. Ben Wheatley, man. What a career he's had.
Yes. But rather than talk about Ben Wheatley on this show,
That's the next podcast.
Yeah, that's our after we cover Andor, the Ben Wheatley show. On
The Ben
this
Wheatley
show.
Beatley?
The Ben Wheatley Weekly.
Ben
Beatley.
Yeah. In honor of the late great Mark Maron, we like to ask on the show, who are your glup shittos?
Okay, well, do they have to be an Andor?
No.
Oh, okay, all right.
In all of
In
Star
all of Star Wars?
Yeah.
All right. There's a name that shakes the pillars of history whenever it's uttered, so I don't mean to put this weight on this episode, but if you're asking me and I have to answer honestly, it is the one, the only Ben Quadraneros.
Ben, he's winning.
He's our MVP
at least 6 episodes.
at least 6 times now.
I mean, just look at that face.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time we've been able to discuss the return of Ben.
But yeah, the return of Ben.
Yeah, Ben is back. Ben is back.
Ben is back.
By the way, I was in that movie. Ben is back.
Really?
As an extra.
Amazing.
Nobody saw it. Julia Roberts. So yeah, it's fine.
But did you call him Ben Quadraneros?
Oh, is that not how you pronounce it?
No, it's Ben Quadraneros.
Quadraneros.
Yeah, which feels like a Berenstein Bears situation
It
to
might
me.
be a Berenstein.
Like
Berenstain Bears.
Exactly. We've forked into a timeline where he is Ben Quadraneros.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody loves Ben. Something
Everybody
about
loves Ben.
a lovable loser, I
Yeah.
think, captures your
Yeah.
heart more than the badass pod racers
Yeah.
that we get to see.
Yeah.
And he's got such a punum.
A what?
A punum.
A pun-
Yeah.
It's Yiddish for face.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think Salacious Crumb, obviously.
Yeah.
Got to talk
Salacious
about my
B.
boy, Salacious B.
Yeah.
SBC. You know me.
SBC Global.
SBC Global. Yeah, it was fun in an era, or I guess a pre-Wikipedia era, when you didn't know their names necessarily. If you did, it was like a little rite of passage, like, this one's, Salacious B. Crumb, or this one's, I can't come up with a single other name right now, but
You'd watch the movies
watch them
and
and be like,
fall in love with this guy,
Yeah.
and then you bought, I guess, a Topps trading
Topps
card,
card,
and you
yeah.
opened it up, like,
Yeah.
oh, his name is Wolf Yularen?
Wolf Yularen,
Cool.
yeah, cool.
Who's Wolfie Ron? No, it's a bit now. It's a bit now. It was a bit. Last week I forgot. Now I'm
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So yeah, and I think that Bob Frick, obviously everyone's Bob Frick.
Oh.
Thank
Thank God for Steven Spielberg.
God, Steven.
You know the story?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, it's pretty good.
The one good thing about that movie.
And I think that part of the love for these guys is not just obviously their weird looks and their marginal importance or whatnot, but I do appreciate the variety that you get in the best of Star Wars, where you can have characters like that are just outrageous or funny or bizarre or what have you, and yet still have some really meaty drama or character moments to sort of go along with it. It does make it feel it's a really deft, and I have to give credit to Mr. George Lucas, really, really smart way to do world building.
Yeah, you see all these like bit characters, and you can just feel that they contain an entire universe within them, which is why I think the part of the reason why like these movies have stopped feeling quite like Star Wars has stopped feeling quite like an event is because we're recycling all these characters again. We already know that these characters exist, and it's not quite opening up the universe, it's actually closing it down. There's a galaxy full of bounty hunters. Do we need Enbo to show back up again?
Yeah.
Is that really we couldn't have used this opportunity to make a really sick new character to fall in love with?
Yeah, I mean, think about the Dianoga from the first Star Wars in the sense that like you already had the threat of the walls closing in on them literally. You didn't need an additional monster creature in there, but putting it in there ups those stakes, and also not knowing what the hell that eyeball stalk thing is.
Yeah.
It's under the trash and it lives there for some reason.
And that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. As I maybe said earlier, but maybe I didn't, I'm a horror guy.
Okay.
But I, part of being like a dyed-in-the-wool, hardcore horror fan.
Oh my God, he has a fucking name.
Who? The Dianoga? Yeah.
Yes, Jabba's Dianoga.
Oh, good.
You know what it is?
No.
Toothy?
Toothy.
Oh, well, that's appropriate.
It was a pup, apparently. It was a young Dianoga.
But just to finish my thought, I that's hilarious. I grew up very much a scaredy cat of a lot of media. Nothing scared me more in terms of like actual physical like shaking of my body than playing the Dark Forces level of the Dianogas in the sewage, because it just the fear of turning around and seeing one of those damn little eyeball stalks stalking you or stuff just sitting there, it gave me nightmares. And my brother would watch me play that level too, and he would get freaked out. And so yeah, it was a pretty special thing.
This is like a bad Max Landis pitch, but like, what if there was a Star Wars movie that was only aliens and no humans in it? Like, that would be an interesting story. Like, it's like it's a bad Max Landis pitch. It doesn't actually work in concept. But
there was a I guess, was it a novel series called Tales from Jabba's Palace or something? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of felt like a little bit edging toward that vibe. I'm sure there's been like at least a one-shot comic book, or
and
like
they
that.
have the like those tales of animated like miniseries, and some of those are about alien characters,
but like in an Andor level of like seriousness. Yeah.
And again, that's another thing of like, we're telling like Cad Bane's origin story. It's like, we can tell an original story. It's okay.
Exactly.
We can invent a new guy. It's okay.
Yeah.
But they don't sell Funkos.
They don't sell Funkos. It's true.
Yeah.
It's all about the Funko Pops.
They got to bury all the Funkos in the ground.
Well, and there's such value to, arcane things, lore things remaining niche, because I know that the popularity of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, obviously this franchise and many others, the rise of geek culture in general during the 2000s and 2010s has turned pop culture in general into a very geek-friendly space.
Yeah. To
the point where we're still doing, I'm talking about in my space, in my field, and I know you've involved in this too, Rusteen, which is, explainers, this character explained, what's this cameo about? Who's this character? Here's their whole history. Here's their whole lore. The history of Vecna in Dungeons and Dragons, so you can understand Stranger Things or whatever. And I think that while that's all well and good, and that's certainly useful, for average Joes and Janes, I feel like there's less, weirdly, it feels like there's less average Joes and Janes out there.
Yeah.
Where like your dad knows who Thanos is.
Yeah.
And it's like, should he?
Yeah, everybody needs to know about this obscure IP character, who speculating about who's going to show up in the post-credit scene of a movie is not a thing that normal people should be concerned with.
Well, there are modern myths.
Our modern myths, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that original era of like expanded universe stuff, like the books and the comics and the games that you were mentioning, like it felt like the audience for that was always George. Like the writers would like pitch George on ideas, and he would be the one to really be like setting the tone of what that stuff was going to be. Whereas now it's like the audience for it is everybody. And at the end of the day, like these are supposed to be niche objects. Like,
no, the targets are men 30 to 60 with expendable income.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. We've evolved beyond the need for people aged 18 to 32.
Yes.
Now it's under 60 is our target demographic, which tells you a lot about society. But anyways,
when Star Wars characters start showing up in drug ads on TV, we know we're fucked. Yeah.
Yoda's blue pill.
Yeah. Experience the magic of Coca-Cola through Star Wars.
Millennium Falcon puts the sky in Sky Rizzy.
Well, on that note, should we leave the rest of the Star Wars universe behind and
Jabba's
head
on that
into Jabba's Ozempic.
I guess the Jeremy Allen White one's a little yoked.
Yeah.
No. The special edition Jabba was yoked. I mean, how could he even be there in person, right? Han stepped on him, We all saw it.
I can't believe
the choreography of that scene is impeccable.
So many of Star Wars' like weirdest stuff is just because like they made a mistake on set of like, well, Han walked behind him because they didn't know he was a big slug guy, and now we have to explain why how he does it.
Right? Yeah.
Crazy.
Which is, oh man, I'm not even going to say it because it's going to derail the whole thing.
That's what this podcast. Just go.
Release the original trilogy. Release the original trilogy. I'm one of those.
I mean,
I'm one of those.
I feel like it's pretty open.
Yeah. We're getting it.
Yeah, I know
we're
are.
getting
kind
that,
of, I guess.
that one.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never talked about it on the show, but when like they premiered that theatrical cut of Star Wars, and then there were reviews of people saying like, kind of looks shitty, doesn't it? It's like, no, that's the point.
We fell in love with that because
look at this thing that sucks, and it's
and
like a thing
honestly,
that's awesome.
I'm putting my official critic film historian hat on now.
You're taking off this Ellen McKay
It's
hat.
Ellen McKay. It's Ellen McKay. I'm the governor of the state that I was born and raised in.
Massachusetts.
New Jersey?
Wait, did you say Massachusetts?
Philadelphia? Yes, no, I was born in Massachusetts. Yeah. I forgot where I was born for a second. Sorry. I was thinking of Ella too much. So I think that there's actually a legitimate argument in terms of the preservation of that original version because it was so significant to the culture, to, film history, to name it, in terms of just how revolutionary it was. And the fact that you aren't still at this point, hopefully that's changing soon, allowed to see it that way in any, decent form. Like it's, obviously despecialized editions, the fandom, all that. But I think that, it is important officially to preserve it.
It should be only accessible at the Library of Congress with the original cut of The Day the Clown Cried. Like that should be the equal level of yes.
Well, and the thing is, I've never understood. I mean, I understand kind of in terms of his mentality, but I've never understood how he can see his peers like, Ridley Scott or James Cameron or whatever, like, preserve every version of their movie and say, like, if you want to watch.
James is on a little bit of a I want to up-res everything kick.
Right. He is a little bit that too.
I actually don't know if they feel that way. It feels like a lot of these people have their definitive version in their head and they want you to only watch that version. If they could I think George could only do that in the era before the internet where you could really like get every VHS of the original theatrical cut and smash it with a hammer.
Now we're going real life and the George Lucas talk show into the one.
Well, and also, let's bring in the more sort of prestigious auteurs who've done it and it isn't talked about as much because they're not as geek friendly. People like Michael Mann and the Coen brothers, who have altered their, best films. Heat is not the same Heat that you could have seen in theaters. Miller's Crossing, the Criterion edition is not the same Miller's Crossing that you used to be able to see.
Yeah.
So stuff like that.
Wong Kar-wai too.
Wong Kar-wai. Yeah. So it's something that, is a rampant issue. But whereas with those films, you can still make the same case for a lot of them in terms of how important they individually are to film history too. But Star Wars just feels like the most egregious example. It really is like this was a milestone in the industry. So we could at least try to keep it, somehow the way that was originally released, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, whenever look forward to that release of the original theatrical
or when Tony Gilroy redoes Andor in 15 years.
All right. On that note, let's dive into our 7 minutes here. Of Andor.
So let's last week on Andor, Mon got mad at Luthen. Cyril got a new job. Dedra got mad about tunics, and Clea got mad at Vel. There was a lot of people getting mad last episode.
After the high of the heist, I think everybody's feeling like the pressure building on them.
I was trying to do math. Like, how many episodes has it been since we were on Ferrix? Of our episodes of our show?
Episodes?
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Been a while. Sorry. Comedy Bay Man.
Like, how many months ago were we on Ferrix?
We were on Ferrix last December 7th.
And this episode comes out.
And this episode comes out April 26th. So it's been 4 months.
It's a real homecoming back to Ferrix. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're like 14 minutes into this episode now, and we're now gonna see our title character.
Yeah, this episode is really shaping up to like in the writers' room. Like we have a bunch of scenes that we need to put in, but we don't know where to put them in, so we're just putting them all in this like little like transition episodes.
Yeah, it is a transition episode for sure, which season 2 does not have.
Right,
and I think that's both a plus and a minus to that.
Well, I was going to talk to you guys about this because originally I had beef with y'all for giving me this episode because when you told me this episode was going to be mine, I was like, hey, fuck you. Because it's one that it's nobody's favorite from the show or the season.
Yeah, sure.
It's not bad by any means, but it's also it doesn't have any of the moments in it that like are the standout moments you can really dig into. You can talk about Made My Mind a Sunless Space, or
totally.
One Way Out, or Never More Than 10 or 12, whatever. Like there's none of that in this episode. It is a table setting episode. It is transitional, as you guys just put it. So it's the sort of and I was thinking about it the other night when preparing to come on, in the sense that it is a type of television episode that is fairly recent in the phenomenon of like television structure, because the way that American television used to run, of course, the network model, you would have what we used to call bottle episodes or filler episodes. You'd also have clip show episodes, which are the worst, because it was very clearly they had to take a break and just shot 15 minutes of new material to put around, endless clips.
Now we call them fan cams.
And they're actually much more interesting to watch. But anyway,
PT Wemo, remember when Tim died?
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is just like when Tim died.
Beeb shoots up a hologram of the
scene. So I think that this is an improved version of those, if you want to look at it that way. It's still something that's like in the new era of streaming television. It is the necessary evil. It is that hour or however long the episodes are that you need, in the sense that it is the shoe leather. It is the material we need to go from point A to point B, and yet it's generally not on its own something that you're like, oh, I can't wait to watch that one again, because it is just set up for more. It's like getting excited about watching the first or second act of a movie, sort of thing. But again, sometimes that can be great because of what you've set up. So I think some shows do it better than others. I think Andor does a decent job with it. And ultimately, I was actually really happy with the section that you guys picked, because I think that there's some really meaty stuff in here, even if it's subtle.
Yeah, I don't know if people are lying, but generally people come on to be like, I wasn't sure why we were doing this section, but there's like interesting stuff to plunge, and maybe people are just being very nice because we gave them that section. But
no, I think this is the reason why this is the only show that I think could really withstand this level of scrutiny, because I think especially like the way season 2 came out, where it was like in these big chunks and everybody just kind of talked about the biggest moments that were, you kind of referenced.
Yeah.
But the whole goal of this show is to really parse through all of these quieter scenes. Like, to be honest, like, this is the juice of the show for me. Like, there's honestly less to talk about in an episode like the heist last week, where it's just like, yeah, this was cool.
Yeah. It turns into Chris Farley talk show. I bring this up again. Like, remember that was cool. Yeah.
Wasn't it cool when Andor shot that guy? Yeah, it was cool. But here is where the show gets to really lay out all of the stuff that it's thematically interested in. What is Andor and Marva's relationship with Ferrix, and how does that create conflict and friction between the two of them? What's Mon Mothma's relationship with Coruscant and her family and everybody she knows back on Chandrilla? Like, these are all stuff we're going to get to talk about in this episode that you don't get to do as much in the big action-y stuff. That is admittedly fucking badass and rules, and we love it, and is why we love the show. But giving every minute of this show a chance to shine has been really fun, and why we've had such a good time doing it.
It's what TV can do, where it can slow things down and get micro. In a movie, where if this was an hour in the movie, you'd be like, what the fuck is...
Well, see, this is the point I was trying to get at, which is the fact that I think it's so interesting to me, just as a, working in the space that I've worked at, or just being a fan as long as I have, and I know you guys have seen this too, how TV is mutated into a very different, similar of course, but very different form of long form serialized storytelling.
Yeah.
In the sense that, if Andor had been an ABC network show, made just like 15 or 30 years ago, you really couldn't have an episode like this. You would have to have some sort of individual episode long conflict of like, okay, so all this can still be happening to set up future stuff, but at the same time, we got to have at least a B plot or a C plot even of like, somebody's trying to kill somebody else, or somebody's trying to steal this, or so-and-so burnt the turkey, or like whatever, like, conflict can be resolved by the end of the episode, so that you can have like a complete experience. And then, because the ideal of old style American television was, you want your person, if you're watching week to week, to have a complete experience, 1 week, and then get excited for next week, so you can come back, sort of thing. So it's interesting how, the streaming model and shows like Andor, which again, I think do it well, has adopted this, sort of more leisurely, very like, it can be more intricate, as you were just saying too. It doesn't have to have a materialized conflict, which I think is, for a show like this, pretty good, and for other shows, pretty bad, in the sense that it becomes so shoe leathery that it's like, all right, I just need to get to the next action sequence or whatever.
So I don't know if I disagree with you, but it's basically, I think the arc episodes to me feel like this is a movie that went from 2 hours to 3 hours. To me, this feels like this could be episode 7 of Mad Men. That like this is like within the lore of the show, like we've had our sort of like major arc happen. We need to like return to see where all the characters are, and I think it's not I don't think it's a coincidence that this is like a Stephen Schiff episode.
This
is the episode from one of the guys who's the most experienced working in TV.
Well, and that's a good point too, is that I think comparing it to a TV drama of old as opposed to a genre show of old, like this, I don't think you would get an episode like this on even, the sci-fi Battlestar Galactica or, Lost or something like that. There would be more action in one of those shows per episode sort of thing.
But like we've got you're not going to give up on the show on episode 7. So episode 7 is the one where we can just do some more character work.
Right.
Yeah, really dig into all of these people and introduce some new faces, as we're going to see in this one.
So let's continue through the dark. Through the dark, Cassian walks through the streets of Ferrix, and inside his home, he finds Marva sleeping on the couch. She got hit with that sleepy time tea again. It's looking real cozy. But until there's a noise, and Marva pulls her gun, and B2 Emo, as the good guard dog as he is, goes to investigate. It's Cassian.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you. Rusteen can do it better.
No, I can't. I do horrible impressions.
Who asks, and Cassian asks, since when did they lock the door? And Marva goes in for a hug, and B2 Emo goes in for a, I don't know exactly. It's like
he nuzzles up against Cassian.
So
it's so adorable, and just calls out his name, and then Cassian pets him.
Yeah,
it's adorable. I love B2 so much.
Yeah.
But
my parents' dogs do that. Like they're not really like they just like want to put their head against you. He just wants contact.
Is he the most pet coded droid in Star Wars?
I think so. Yeah,
because even somebody like R2 or BB-8, like they're
like little.
They have
guys.
their moments, but they're kind of more little guys.
Yeah, But B is like the old dog who is on his last legs.
Yeah.
But
I feel like Marva's much more reliant on her cane than she was.
Yeah, I think this is like coming back to Ferrix now after 4 months.
Yeah,
we're seeing how much things have changed here. Marva's locking the door. She's sleeping with a gun in her hand, and she is really struggling just to get out of a chair. And leaning on this walking stick is telling us just how much things have deteriorated here,
and weighing her down.
So I guess this would be a good time for me to mention my personal history with Fiona Shaw.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
I was lucky enough to attend a masterclass that she taught.
Whoa.
In 2004. Yes, 2004. When I was studying over in London at the conservatory called BADA, which stands for the British American Dramatic Academy.
Cool.
Alums of that school include Orlando Bloom and David Schwimmer, if you must know. I'm sure
that's a range from Orlando Bloom to David Schwimmer. Yeah,
there's a couple others too, but I don't know them off the top of my head. Anyway,
Watto's number one enemy, David Schwimmer.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah. So apologies, but so that was a really interesting time when I was still studying to be an actor and very involved in theater and theater history and everything like that. And part of it was a conservatory, so we were there 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 like every day, every week. So it was a large education in essentially a semester's time. And part of that was having some people, if they were available, to come by and do master classes, which were essentially TED Talks or lectures or something. There wasn't usually an interactive element, although sometimes I think some people wanted to bring a couple students up and like try things with them and everything like that. But if you've ever seen, I don't know if you guys have attended master classes yourselves, but like they have that whole, I guess, like streaming platform masterclass with like.
Oh, okay. So it literally is.
It
like
literally is a little bit more like that. If you've ever seen, like, there's a famous Michael Caine one from like the 80s where he talks about how to act and everything. So that's kind of the vibe. Peter Serafinowicz, if you guys know him, like he did like a running gag of like doing impressions as like Kevin Spacey and other people doing masterclasses. So that's the vibe. And she was great. At the time, this was still close enough to like 1995 when she famously did a production of Richard II, where she played Richard II.
Cool.
Fiona Shaw did. And that was like a big, to do around that time of like, oh, this, accomplished Irish actress is playing the male lead, in a big production sort of thing. That's what all my fellow students at the time could talk about.
Fiona Shaw invented woke.
When I heard Fiona Shaw was coming, I was like, Lena from Super Mario Brothers. That's why I'm doing what I do now, and probably am not a super famous Broadway actor. But yeah, no, it was a pretty special moment.
I don't think I knew that either.
Mario Brothers.
We would have brought this up by now if either of us knew.
Adding that to the list
Queen
of movies
Koopa,
to cover.
Let me tell you, I was a freak for that movie.
She's Queen Koopa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's
so
wonderful.
She's always been.
It is bizarre how the animated Mario movie is almost essentially the same plot as the 90s one.
It is. So it's been, it was pretty neat. And I every time Fiona shows up in something, I've always felt that she's one of those actors who just her presence elevates, a work, and it's like, oh, this is something important, in terms of like, at least she sees something enough in this to be there. So therefore, so yeah, when I first saw her turn up in the series, I was like, again, that was an early indication of like, oh, this is special. This isn't just, another Star Wars thing.
She was actually a recast. It was supposed to be CCH Pounder.
Right.
And then thanks to COVID delays, she dropped out, and that opened up the role for Fiona. So it all worked out, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing in the show.
And I love CCH Pounder too, but I really do think that the dynamic that she and Diego Luna have as these characters, it makes the distinction between them more pronounced, obviously. But then it also kind of makes that relationship stronger in terms of like, it is more about this found family, but also it's kind of family, even though it's not blood related sort of thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I guess we also have never talked about Rory McCann was supposed to be Brasso.
Oh, yeah. The Hound was originally supposed to be Brasso, but then he like broke his knee
Slipped on the ice
something.
while on his way to work and injured his knee.
Yeah, injured his knee and had to drop out. And they even did some digital face replacement on the few shots that they did of the few scenes that they shot with him, with Joplin. And then he took over the role.
So I bring all that up because I don't know if you guys, because I know you've been covering this episode at least 2 parts before.
Yeah.
Did you talk about Benjamin Caron that much?
No.
So he's a West Midlands guy, Cambridge grad. He did like just a smattering of things. I guess a few music videos maybe for Jay-Z. He did like an intro video for one of Jay-Z's performances in London, or the UK. He did episodes of Skins and My Mad Fat Diary.
Okay.
But I think the most telling thing is that he worked a lot with Kenneth Branagh on the show Wallander, but also he directed like the theatrical production of Branagh's Winter's Tale.
Cool.
A play that I was in at Bada. I was pursued by a bear and killed. But he also directed some episodes of The Crown, Sherlock. And then he later would go on, because you guys are going to talk about it later, Daughter of Ferrex and Rex Road. Yeah. And so I think it's clear that he has a very theatrical background. He has that history. And I think combining him with Stephen Schiff, which I know you did talk about, is pretty powerful. And obviously he was the original showrunner of this and blah, blah, blah. But like, Schiff beginning his career as a film critic. So, hey.
Oh, cool.
He worked for the Boston Phoenix, and he was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize in criticism at one point.
So we can assume probably this was in a production block with those episodes.
Yeah, it literally was.
Yeah, no,
each episode was already split up into 3 blocks, and that's where they got the idea for season 2.
Right.
Was that we already had this production schedule. What if we just turn that into the narrative of the show as well?
Oh, yeah. Totally. So, yeah, I think I really do see in this episode that pedigree of both Schiff and Caron, having a very traditional, theatrical sort of, heritage in this. And I'll talk about it more in the next
just
scene.
Conversations, but they make this conversation very compelling.
And I think that one of my favorite things about this scene that we're on now between Fiona and Diego is it's subtle. She's neither of them are over indicating, but I think it's really powerful to watch, Fiona do her internalized work of like, she's never going to go with him. It never is crossing her mind in terms of like, let's escape. Like, let's do your plan. Like, it's not happening. And the conflict there between that and him, even if it's just, again, subtly, maybe Andor's not processing it because he's just so hopeful. And this is maybe not the first instance and certainly not the last of Cassian Andor, like trying to help a beloved one as his, and trying to get them around to his way of thinking of like, this is like, I have everything in place. Like we can go, I have the money, we can just go somewhere cool, and sort of thing. And the tragedy of that.
Yeah.
So Marva puts on a hot cup of calf and tells Cassian it's not safe here. B2 tells him there are troopers on the ground. They kicked out Primor and took over the hotel, which we saw a little bit previously, but But now Ferrex is now under Imperial authority. Marva tells him he shouldn't be here, but Cassian complains that somebody turned him in. B2 tells it was him. And then Marva tells him the Corpos killed him when they were coming after you, and everybody knows.
Yeah, I love that she says no point in stewing over it. Like, she knows how hot-headed Andor can be, and
great.
is like cutting him off before he can get like pissed off at Tim.
Yeah. And also just leading with that, and then, no point in stewing over because he's dead.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted revenge, if you were going to get hot-headed, why?
It's too late.
Go kick his brick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Any vengeance you can think of, it's already happened or it's too late,
I don't think Tim's brick ceremony was quite as well attended as Marva's, though.
Does everyone get a brick, or is a brick only like an honor?
I think like every resident of Ferrex gets a brick and becomes a part of the city.
Yeah.
Is the lore there.
Just some are used for toilets. Just yeah.
Yeah, where your brick gets placed is dependent on how beloved you were.
And that whole ceremony really is a Ben Folds 5 Easter egg, because she's a brick and she's drowning slowly.
5 comedy points. Yes. Cassian asked if everyone knows includes Bix, and she no, she was coming to warn you, and Tim was trying to stop her or to catch her. I don't know. I've heard both. I don't.
The gossip around what happened is going in every direction, and all that people have to kind of go off of, I think, is just what they heard from other people.
It's just from a screenwriting perspective, that felt like a script line where there's like the backlore has 2 different stories. Actually, they like conflict, but it's like I've heard both. Like we don't actually know which one it was. So like there was a movie where 2 different things happened. And they're like we have to retcon it a little bit to be like maybe one happened. We're not sure. We can't make a definitive statement on it.
Well, and I think it's an indication of this show's willingness to use ambiguity too, in terms of motivation and even interpretation. Because part of the intricacies of the show in general is, who knows what when, who is thinking what when, and whereas some people really wear their hearts on their sleeve, like Andor, others don't.
I mean, this is the first time we've probably seen him happy.
Yeah.
Like he's imagining.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, at this point, like he thinks he's won. I've got my ideal situation, as weird as it is, and we're gonna live happily ever after.
Yeah, because Marva tells Cassian the Empire is here to stay, and Cassian invites his mother and B2 email to flee with him, claiming that he's won enough credits to leave. And then she sort of asks to where exactly. Sorry. Well, he did tell her that he scored.
Yeah, he scored. He got lucky. He scored.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. This is
she was nice and a high five.
Yeah. We were talking about Michael Mann and Heat before. Like this is a little bit. The scene is a little bit of the what happens after the heist thing of like, and not just in that movie, but just in general, the heist film of like, we usually leave the heist film on a high note of like, we pulled off the heist, got the dough, we're going to go live on the beach. It's going to be great. I mean, the ending of this very episode is the refutation of that. It's like, actually, no, you're fucked.
He got away, but he's not getting a medal at the end of this. And he's so proud and he's beaming, and he's never looked more like boyish on this show, despite going through such a horrifying ordeal last episode. But now he just like, he wants to go back to like being a little kid with his mom and just saying like, everything's going to be okay. Like we can go back to the way things used to be. And Marva just keeps telling him like, no, like this is, everything has changed. Everything's unraveled.
It's
the Empire's here. We're like, there's no running away from this.
Yeah, it's a little bit the scene between Judd and Kilmer at the end of Heat of like, this can't happen again. Like, this is, I know that, you think it can, but we're done. And unfortunately it sucks because like feelings haven't changed, but the circumstances have.
I just want to shout out, there's a really cool, it's not really a POV shot, but there's a shot from like B2 Emo's perspective right behind his back where everybody else is blurry. Which is kind of like, yes, let's go. Marvel is skeptical to where exactly, anywhere they want. Cassian wants to go to a warmer climate, maybe somewhere in Tucson.
He says like we can leave like from the cold and damp to somewhere warm and easy. Like he thinks that there's still somewhere easy out there in the galaxy, and I think Marva knows that that's not true.
The level of money that you need to be living that level of easy is still even more than he took out of that.
Yeah, he didn't get enough money to go hang out with the people of Canto Bight, like he's
I mean, Canto Bight also looks cold and wet.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
he talks about his escape of planning off-world, and Marva makes a face, which is just a really good like mom trying to pretend that she's not lying face of it. It's just such a big idea, you know, and I get so tired.
Yeah.
And he buys it 100%.
Yeah, he's so naive.
Yeah.
Like he just like can't imagine why she wouldn't want to go. And yet you're like you said earlier, it's never crossed her mind of leaving Ferrix at all.
Mm-hmm. He's so cynical and everything else, but when he's talking to his mom, he just can't imagine her possibly lying to him.
And he calls her Ma. Like it's so sweet. Like he really is like her child. And she doesn't want to let him down. She can see how much this means to him, how proud he is of like getting this money to get to go, but like she knows deep in her heart that she can't do it.
Yeah, no, she's not stern. She's not, you know, or angry in terms of like, you know, there's a way that she could have played it, which would have been very different, which is, you know, shut up, you idiot kid. Like, you know,
no, she made it his idea.
Yeah,
she's like, it's not that I'm gonna go. She's like, I'm tired. And she's like, oh, he's right. Of course, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Like he makes it his idea to move on from it and not push the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they agree that he wants to talk to Bix one last time, and they'll just go tomorrow. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. And first thing in the morning, they'll leave Ferrix behind for good. And we then leave from the cold and damp and go to this bright and warm party at Mon Mothma's house. But I wouldn't say that it's easy in Mon Mothma's house at this point for her. She's gliding through a crowd of aliens and Imperials, holding a red cocktail as everybody's gossiping about what's happening in galactic politics around her. And Mon finally finds her old pal, Tay Kolma, played by Ben Miles, and apologizes for being a bad friend and failing to keep in touch. And Tay holds no hard feelings and tells her that life takes us where it will. She's become an elegant politician, hosting fancy parties in the seat of galactic power. But Mon asks if that really means she's changed so much. And we know how important this meeting is for her. She's been talking about it a lot the last couple of episodes. And here we get to see like how we've talked before about how like Mon never gets to be alone. And in order for her to have this meeting, like she apologizes, like, I'm sorry we couldn't get dinner, that we have to like, you know, see each other in this big party. But I think she knows that if I had a private one-on-one dinner, like that dinner would get bugged, people would be spying on us. But here in the middle of this party, we're able to talk and no one's actually listening.
So here's why I love this scene. And I was so glad that you guys signed it to me in the sense that I remember watching this scene or this episode for the first time. And I think it was this scene and this plot line, this sequence where I was like, can Mon Mothma get it? And I think the reason for that is there is this romantic, erotic energy that's under the surface this entire time. I don't think it's ever stated, unless I miss my guess. I think maybe in season 2 they broach it a little bit more bluntly. But there is this frisson between Tay and Mon of like, did they have crushes on each other? Was this an sort of unrealized or unrequited thing in their past, in their childhood? Was it just more, was it purely platonic and a friendship thing? But whether it's platonic or romantic or, sexual, there is this energy between them in the scene because of the stuff they're dancing around. They're not saying out loud because they can't trust each other, yet to know where each other stands, which is a topic they eventually do, hit on the nose a little bit later in the scene. But I really do love that dance. And it really reminds me, and I was going back to what I was talking about, Karen and everything like that, of the very English tradition of high comedy, drawing room comedy, and it doesn't necessarily need to be comedy in these instances, because if you're looking at stuff like even Oscar Wilde or George Bernard Shaw, Henrik Ibsen, these are typically scenes between upper class characters. I was
gonna say there's a bit of Ibsen in this scene too. Yeah,
and like they have an issue that they want to approach, they want to talk about, but decorum won't allow them to just come out and say like, hey, like I need money for my revolution or whatever. So it's that subtle dance of society, of culture, of what have you, to sort of dance around. And I really love that Karen utilizes the Steadicam a lot in this particular scene, because it is dancing around them, even though they're not dancing. They're at a party, but they're just walking and talking. But it really, that visual language of them sort of circling around and in each other around the conversation, around the topic, really, really works well.
No, I think because I just watched the Nia DaCosta Hedda, and I feel like there's a very similar vibe. Like the comedy element of it is very similar in that scene. It's very dark topics, but everyone's sort of making jokes around the darkness underneath. Yeah.
And again, I want to emphasize that comedy doesn't necessarily have to mean punchline and joke or body or anything like that. It's almost ironic, in that way, or satiric even. But I think O'Reilly and Ben Miles do a great job. Ben Miles, I just have to say, I grew up a fan of a lot of British comedy, and his role on Coupling, that sitcom, was great. So when I saw him turn up in this, I was like, Patrick.
I haven't seen the show, but I heard he's a very different type of character.
Yeah.
To your point, I think when they were, I feel like they were kids and they liked each other, but the society would never put them together.
Sure.
He's a couple of classes above her.
Right.
So she's a couple classes above him.
And she got sent away to Coruscant to become like young kid senator. And he stayed back and got involved in, I assume, the family business of the banks.
The banks.
The Chandrilla banks. So they have like that kind of class connection in a sense, but as
he might be a Rothschild, but she's royalty.
She's Space Kennedy, and and gets to fly off to fancy Coruscant, but that has led their lives in different directions. And Tay says that we've all had to adapt to life under the Empire, like she has here on Coruscant, which is precisely why Tay can't imagine living here where there's no escape. Just a glimpse of what it's like here, what you have to do. And Mon admits it can be challenging, and Tay says that she carries it gracefully. And it is kind of funny that like Tay talks about Coruscant the way some people talk about LA. Of like, I can't imagine how you live here. Everybody's so fake.
I know. It's so funny too, and there is such a.
I mean, it's true.
But
what's also true of Coruscant.
Yeah.
She's literally at a party at her house, and there's like 10 guys in Imperial uniforms all around her.
Right. No, and I love the inherent tension of that in the sense that if you can come at this situation from Tay's perspective, it's like here's this very elegant, very beautiful, very well cultured and very powerful woman who you'd have to assume like is tied in with the Empire and Palpatine's views and everything like that. I guess it's part in the same way that I was talking about comedy doesn't necessarily have to be funny. I think that eroticism doesn't necessarily have to be sexual. There is that sort of excitement of dancing around the political issue of like, is she or isn't she? It's almost the same question if you were trying to figure out if somebody was single or if somebody liked you.
Yeah.
Romantically, where it's like, so what do you think? Like, I have a crush on somebody. I don't know if I can tell you, sort of thing. It's that energy, but it's applied to a political angle. It's applied to like, so are you cool with this or are you not?
Especially in a world where they're trained to not show their real emotions. You have to sort of come up with these word games to come around and sort of get your intentions across with intuition.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think maybe we'll come to a second, but I think I was thinking when you said that Mon is kind of a Kennedy, I feel like she's the like smart half of the Kennedys.
Yeah.
And her husband's the drunk half of the Kennedys.
Yeah.
Like they're both Kennedys in different ways.
You don't want to drive down a winding road in Perrins.
Exactly. Yes.
No.
He's leaving you behind if that car crashes.
Yeah.
For sure.
God, it just makes me think of RFK really is a Star Wars villain.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Sounds and looks it.
Mon asks Tay if she can call back on our old kinship and share some truth with you. But she's interrupted by her greatest challenge, her daughter Leda. And Leda chafes at being introduced to another one of Mon's boring friends with his bad banker jokes. And she tells her mom that Dad says I have to ask you for permission to leave. And Leda and Mon lets her go, and Mon jokes that she's another part of the challenge. And Tay admits that it's a difficult age. And we get all these little like cutaways to Perrin through like leading up to this scene of him like talking to some like pretty ladies around the party. And just such a shitty dad move of being like, your mom's the one who's got to give you permission to go. Don't come to me.
You could just hear the SpongeBob guy. Oh, brother, this guy stinks. When you just see him in the background. Yeah.
Well, it's such a great trackling for Leda's character too, and where that ultimately goes. I guess not until the second season, really. But they must have been thinking about something along those lines already, and I love the dynamic there between her and Mon, and it's kind of a classic like mother-daughter thing of the daughter rebelling against her mother, and especially if she's being put on this pedestal by the father as like, she's the one with all the authority. You got to ask her, sort of thing. So of course she would see her as a natural, person to rebel against, sort of thing.
And there's no other kid because when Mon would just not. We had the one we had to have. Now I'm done here. Yeah, we're done here. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and the fact that she bristles at meeting Tay, and and Tay is like almost self-deprecating at this point.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm usually a typical banker. Like
they don't pay me
not
to
original.
Be funny.
Yeah, they pay me to be funny. Yeah, sort of thing. And I think that maybe even the daughter, she picks up a little bit on that tension between the two of them, where it's like she's got her dad already, kind of being boozy and flirting with other women. It's like, okay, so you guys just swinging or what, sort of thing.
Before we leave, though, I do want to call out, there's a lot of good hats in this scene.
Great hats. Good hats.
There sure are.
Square hats, pointy hats.
Everyone's wearing their finest to the Mothma party.
Yeah. You got it. It's an event.
And when Leda leaves, they can get back to the subject at hand, a conversation she's been wanting to have for some time. And she wants to tell Tay something that only 3 people in the galaxy know about. I think with hindsight, we know who these 3 people are.
Right.
Luthen, Clea, and her cousin Vel, although we don't know that quite
right.
yet, the relationship between the two of them. But Tay holds her back and says, "We've both changed. I've done more than grow weary of the Empire. I'm afraid you might find my politics a bit strong for your taste. Your world is inescapably linked to the Empire. You're with these people all the time. I'm not sure you're aware how far afield some of us have taken our political allegiances these days." And then he realizes he's gone too far and blames it on Perrin's embassy punch. I did find a user on R Cocktails made a recipe for Perrin's embassy punch. It's 2 ounces of gin, an ounce of Kochi Americano, half an ounce of blue curacao, 2 dashes of orange bitters, and a dash of absinthe. And you combine everything except the absinthe and stir with ice. Use an atomizer to spritz the glass with a dash of absinthe, and then strain into the glass and optionally garnish with a lemon twist and enjoy. So enjoy that with the rest of this episode.
Yeah. And if you are in Southern California, go buy it at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. They'll sell it at the counter for you. No, but
we should get them to get this at Scum and Villainy.
Exactly.
We
yeah.
can make that happen. Yeah. No, but to the speech you just talked about that Tay gives, see, the first time watching this episode, even rewatching it for this, it gives me the same feeling as if you're watching a scene between, 2 people that have a crush on each other, but they haven't confessed it yet. But one of them, in this case, the guy, is like, "Oh, I have this big crush and you're not going to like it, because it's someone I really, really appreciate and I love, but I can't tell you who it is. And I talk too much now. I'm sorry." It's that moment before, they would kiss in terms of like that sort of thing. So it gives you that rush of like, oh yes, like, they're both on the same page. Let's do it, guys, sort of thing.
And I get kind of the feeling that that's kind of what Tay thinks this conversation is. And he's coming into it with like, I'm going to have to let her down. Like, I don't agree with her politics. I can't stand by what you're doing. And he's like, you mean a lot to me, but my politics don't allow me to pursue a relationship with you.
Yeah.
You're trying to reconnect with me clearly because you're unhappy.
Yeah.
And Mond tells him to drink up and put a smile on his face and pretend like we're having a happy chat about our childhood days. And Tay gets confused and he clearly doesn't understand what's going on. And Mond smiles and says, "No, you don't," and then lays out exactly what's happening here. What you see, what people say about me, it's a clear picture, isn't it? I'm a polite, somewhat indecisive senator who spends her days fighting and failing to protect separatist do-gooders and battle empire overreach. An irritation, as you so harshly put it. And I think we can think about a lot of somewhat indecisive senators who spend their days
Jar Jar Binks
failing. If we had Jar Jar Binkses in the Senate, we'd be better off than we are right now.
Jar Jar Binks going like Paco. Palpatine always chickens out. Yeah.
I wanted to, since we're on the topic, I wanted to ask you guys: is this, depiction of Mon Mothma in Andor the first time that you've gathered or first time you felt about her as a multidimensional character? Because I'm trying to think beforehand, when was the first time that Mon Mothma really popped beyond like, oh, it's that woman in the sheet, who's supposedly the leader or something?
When Mon first came on the show, we talked about how Genevieve was ready to leave the character behind after Rogue One.
Right.
Because throughout Rebels and Rogue One, she really is just providing exposition.
Rogue One, she's essentially a Glub Shido in Rogue One.
Literally, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Tony Gilroy had to convince her to come back and play this part, and said that, like, we're going to find out who this woman is together. And so, yeah, it is Andor that turns her into a real character in the same way. Like, I think Cassian gets more dimension to him in Rogue One by virtue of being a main character. But it feels like Mon was Tony's, like, mission in the show.
It does.
As close to being, like, a Star Wars fan as he could be, and really more just seeing the value of Genevieve O'Reilly as an actress, that, like, he can make, like, a standout performance for her, which, like, I think we do need to say is, like, the biggest shame of, like, this show's, like, Emmys and, like, awards consideration, that, like, Genevieve never got it. Diego and Stellan were able to get a couple of nominations here or there, but the Genevieve never got that.
Because I was thinking as we're talking,
it's not as showy as a role. That
I think it's a very showy role. Like, I would have thought her performance in that first arc of season 2.
She gets a big yelling scene.
No, the episode in season 2. The speech scene. Yeah.
But, like, not like, I guess, yeah, but I'm like, you want her, like, yelling at somebody with, like, spittle coming out, and that's the scene that gets you the award of when you really, like, scream at somebody.
I guess Emmy voters are that basic usually. But I was thinking, like, had there been before Andor, The Adventures of Mon Mothma in some novel or comic book or something? I can't think of.
She shows up in a variety of stories. She's in the Aftermath book, which is like the Leia sequel story. But now she gets her own trilogy of books.
Yeah.
We have not read them yet, but that's, like, on the docket of more stuff to cover for this show. So I think now, thanks to Andor, she is elevated beyond Glup Shido to core Star Wars character, luckily.
Which is great. It's a long time coming, obviously. And it's something that when you watch the show, it just feels so natural. Like, of course, she's always been an integral part of this whole drama. Where, understandably, like, the prequels are generally focused on, like, the Jedi element and, the council and all that, and how they figure into the whole thing, and of course the Sith and whatnot. But it's funny that, as political as those films got, it's funny that George never thought, what about this Mon Mothma person? Like, what's her deal? So.
Yeah, like, if you've seen the deleted scene of episode 3 that she's in, like, there's not really that much politics in it. It's just, like, Natalie Portman saying, like, we all agree this is bad, right? Maybe we should do something about it. Maybe we should form some kind of rebellion. ...
I think I don't know if this is controversial or not. I think the biggest, I don't even want to say flaw, but, like, the most awkward element, I think, of Revenge of the Sith for me is their seeming rush to connect it to episode 4 of like, okay, and now we just keep watching, and episode 4 starts next week or something. It's like, well, it kind of seems like there's a lot between here and there, sort of thing. So, oh well.
I think also, like, I think Georgie, like, would also struggle with, like, this contradiction of what Tony Gilroy has called a Nancy Pelosi character.
Yeah.
Oh,
where like I think that's also being very kind to Nancy Pelosi.
Oh yeah,
it's very it's fawning.
I think Nancy Pelosi is a very good politician.
Yeah,
but she just is more conniving in a negative way. She's not building a project. She is trying to maintain a certain level of power. Nancy Pelosi doesn't have a long-term vision of the Democratic Party. It's making sure that people that she trusts are in power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, she is a product of the San Francisco Democratic machine that is very good at perpetuating itself. And she has brought that into the Democratic Party, is the reason why she was able to, like, elevate to the level that she has, and why she's good at the job of being, that
socially progressive,
that
economically conservative.
Yeah.
No, really, that is the San
absolutely.
Francisco project. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's if tech is nice and happy, then it's we're okay here.
Yeah.
But it's. I wish there were more Nancy Pelosi's in our current. There were more Mon Mothmas in their actual.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think I don't think one of them is doing a really good job of hiding their secret intentions of fighting fascism. I think they're all just pretty dumb.
Yeah, but I do also think like there is a part of this that is like Luthen has almost like tricked her into signing up for something that she doesn't really quite understand what she's doing.
Right.
Like I think and that's not to say she's, naive or oblivious to what's happening, but she does not think that they are right now setting up for an armed civil war against the Empire. She thinks we're going to get money to people who need help. We're going to help get people out from under the Empire. We're going to help build something that's going to be a shining beacon that can stand against the Empire. And meanwhile, Luthen is setting up guerrilla terrorist networks all throughout the Empire.
We've seen it plenty of times with right-wing things. We've seen like people convincing money to like give money to like Manuel Noriega.
Right.
And then eventually years later, like, oh, right, that was the CIA paying them off. Like we've seen these people being tricked into like doing bad things. We just very rarely seen them tricked into doing good things.
Yeah, no, there's competing definitions of revolution and rebellion between, like it's different levels of class, it's different levels of intention, it's different levels of desire. Obviously between, Andor and Mon and Luthen and Saw, it's like you have these things that the show goes to pains to really point out how everyone's is, I guess generally in the same direction. I guess it's a vague direction, but it's kind of the same direction. But in terms of the means and the principles, it is wildly varying,
And to give credit where credit's due, like a lot of these elements do show up in the Clone Wars cartoon as like we're watching the Civil War there expanding. You see how the Republic is kind of picking and choosing sides on these planets that don't necessarily need to exist.
Right.
And that perpetuates the conflict. And that's where characters like Saw Gerrera come from. So this is all in the text of Star Wars, but here in Andor, we're able to dive into it with a lot more nuance than we get in any other type of TV show.
Oh, yeah. And again, it's another example of why this show is so special in the sense that it really expands upon and hits upon what you just said. It's already in the text. It's already been done before this point, in the films as well as the ancillary material, as well as Clone Wars and novels and such and comics. But it's one that's not maybe at the forefront of most, fans' minds or just pop culture in general. Because the primary reason to see Star Wars would be, the effects, the crazy ships and aliens and explosions and sword fights and thinking of it as essentially, what Lucas kind of originally intended is like, a tribute to his beloved serials of yore and, this the Pulp Fiction of his day. But yeah, the fact that he did throw so much material into just that original film of, iconography. And, it really does stem from the beginning of his career as a sort of
a young radical
filmmaker.
Sense, yeah.
THX 1138 is chock full of stuff in terms of ideas, things that I don't know if Lucas understood top to bottom. He threw it in there kind of hoping that it would make sense eventually, sort of thing, or just wanting to be provocative or wanting to just try something out, experiment. So he's a mixture of a real, intelligent, cultured and educated guy with just sort of a savant of like, throw it all together and see how it blends sort of thing. Whereas Gilroy is much more focused and pointed on one thing, sort of thing. Like you said, he just loves writing,
Yeah. Getting back into the final minutes of this scene, Tay apologizes for angering Mon, but she stops him and says, No, you've set me free. I've been wondering all day how I could be sure of confiding in you. And now Tay is even more confused. What
also that language that's so loaded. You've set me free. I mean,
yeah.
Jeez.
Your condescension to me.
Down boy. Yeah.
By condescending to her and saying like, you wouldn't believe how radical I am. I think we should tax the billionaires. Lets Mon free to then say that this is all a lie. The Mon Mothma people think they know. It's a lie. It's a projection. It's a front. And this is like it's a quieter moment. This isn't as flashy a monologue as like Luthen gets in a few episodes, but I think it's just as like well written and impactful, that like this woman who lives her whole life in this, you know, very fragile ecosystem, while living a double life as a rebel operative, finally getting a chance to let loose and say what's on her mind, let the mask down just like enough for Tay to see who she really is.
I was just going to use that analogy.
That she once was. Like, Tay is saying to her, like, you used to be an idealist. You used to be somebody who cares about peace and freedom in the galaxy, and now here you are at a party with a bunch of Imperials. Like, what have you become? And she's saying, like, no, I am still the same person I once was.
Yeah, and I love that you use that expression. I think it's such a, again, what you just already brought up, like the distinction, but still the similarity between this moment and the Luthen moment that will come later on, because in Luthen's case, his only audience is this one dude who he can just unload on. And it's just like, all right, bro, here's my worldview. Here's what I'm about, you know, deal with it, sort of thing. And he can be let loose in that way. And of course, that's why, you know, Stellan runs with it, and it's brilliant. But what Genevieve's doing here is a very, very similar thing. It just has to be subtler because they're surrounded by all these people. Yeah. They're in the middle of this party. It's not, she can't take him out to the balcony and, you know, be like, okay, so let me let loose on you, sort of thing.
Yeah, because if they do that, throughout this scene, we see Perrin, like, keeping an eye on them.
Yeah.
There's all these shots that take place, like, from the other side of, like, the wall decor, so it feels like they're almost in, like, a prison cell or something.
Yeah.
Like, you really get the sense that, like, all eyes are on them, but at the same time, they're still a part of the party, so they kind of blend in.
Yeah.
I think as soon as they step out onto the balcony, that's when people are someone's gonna report back, Mon and Tay stepped away from the party and no one knows, you know, what they were talking about.
And I love that part of maybe the audience's at this point interpretation, as well as certainly Tay's, is, oh, we want to keep Perrin out of this because we don't want him to know that we might be hooking up or, like, you know, whatever. Yeah. But as she says in a second, or has already said, like, he can't be trusted. Like, he is not on my side.
I think she actually would probably want Perrin to think that they're hooking up.
Yeah, she would rather that. Yeah.
I think they are doing it almost to be like, it looked like they were flirting. It's probably to her, that's the goal, to have the people who are spies. Yeah. That's the basic lie.
She's holding his arm, you know, and here she, as Tay is shocked and stunned silent, Mon reminds him to smile. And how will he respond to this stunning admission? You'll have to come back next week. Uh-oh.
We got 3 aliens.
Sorry, listeners, we've got aliens again.
Again, thank you to the alienanthology.wordpress.com.
Someone has gone and cataloged all the aliens that show up in Andor season 1.
And anyone that don't have names, I have to give them a name.
Yeah,
they don't have names.
Yeah, because they're just like background aliens.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to skip one. Actually, we'll skip 2 because one is a Dornamethian. Actually, interesting. All of these creatures are from the Canto Bight, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
Set.
Oh, interesting.
So these are all aliens that were in Canto Bight. So there's
that makes sense that they would pull from the same like cast of characters. Like, those are all like aliens from, I'm assuming, the wealthy planets.
Right.
Because again, every planet has one type of person on it. So there's the rich
every
people
planet has one climate. So yeah.
Exactly.
There's the Hoth ice planet. There's the Geonosis lava planet. Whatever.
So there's a Dornamethian. There is a member of the Alessandric species. So I will not name them because those have creature names. There is, however, this little freak who's they've cataloged as Last Jedi species number 30.
Ooh.
And I will describe him as like the Crypt Keeper without a nose.
Yes, I saw that guy. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
And to save us some time, I figured out our name while you were talking.
No wonder you were so silent.
Yes, it's Hyannisport. The place where the Kennedys are from. And also something like a Star Wars name, Hyannisport.
Yeah, port. So implication of, you know, the seaside wealth and everything. Oh man, that's great.
The compound of the Kennedys, Hyannisport. Welcome to Wikipedia.
Welcome to Wikipedia. And thank you, Bill, for joining us for this episode of Andorks.
Thank you guys. It was a pleasure.
Do you have any final thoughts about the show or this episode or, the upcoming stuff that maybe we didn't get to touch on?
I mean, so many.
We'd love to have you back, of course.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I'd love to come back and yap. Because there is, like you said, so much to say about this series in particular, just how layered it is and how much, meat there is on the bone. And I think it's one of those series that, for me at least, just kept getting better throughout the first season and then certainly the second. It's not something that is, you've had other series, whether they be spinoffs or originals, that, peak early or peak in the middle and then, sort of flop off or whatever.
Yeah.
I think Andor is a rare bird in television history of a show that said what it wanted to say in the way that it wanted to say it and got to finish on its own terms, which is kind of crazy,
Yeah. Yeah, we're very lucky that we lived in the 15 minutes that you could get this show made.
Maybe 10. Yeah.
I think they wanted 15 and it got 10. Like, as much as they did get to end on their own terms, I do lament that we never got to see the 5-season version of the show.
Yeah.
That got to take each of those arcs in season 2 and really sit with it. Because I think I'm very much looking forward to getting to talk about all that negative space in between each of the arcs. But there's so many characters that feel where could Clea have gone if we had had 5 seasons to get to develop her? What more could we have seen from all these smaller characters who get even a character
when
Bix,
either of I
think
get our
that's the
blank
short
check,
shit.
we will make the Clea series.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we'll do it.
But I wanted to say before I go that ultimately, where I stand on Star Wars is still up in the air, as I said at the beginning of the episode. I don't know if it's going to be something that loses me completely in the wake of Mandalorian Grogu and Starfighter. I don't know if those are going to be their own little speed bump in the road and we're going to get back to something that feels a little bit more like the Skywalker saga energy in the film space, or something that is a hybrid, some sort of feature, style television show that we've been getting on Disney Plus. I don't believe that Star Wars going forward should all be Andor. That would be a problem too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it really does prove, and it being Andor's existence, that the special sauce in Star Wars is the contrast, is the diversity. You want to have, such richness and such intelligence as this, combined with Babu Frick, farting and doing whatever. You want to have the kiddie pool and you want to have the adult pool, and to divorce the two would be the ultimate death blow to the series, I think. So,
I think to the point of theater, I think there's always the implication oh, this Shakespeare is so dry and or verbose and intellectual. It's full with fart jokes. All classic literature is. Authors love putting that little stuff in there. Like you said, it creates contrast between the important stuff and the not important. Yeah.
People have been slipping on banana peels for as long as we've been walking upright,
100%. Yeah. From, Chaucer and Shakespeare all the way to, the Naked Gun. There's a lot to be said about being silly and being smart or being frivolous and being smart, and I just hope that going forward, Star Wars can find that equilibrium and,
I also hope that.
Yeah, I have a new hope that they can do it. And it can't be everything to everybody. And I think that's what most modern media corporations want to try and do. And it's just recognize that's not a reality. And, hire people that are passionate and have love for the characters and for the world. And you're going to get something good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Bill, thank you for being here. Do you have anything you want to plug? Where can people find you?
If you want to be found.
I do want to be found, at least online a little bit. You can find me on most socials at Bill Bria. So Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, if I remember to post anything there, because I don't like that platform. I am the co-host of my own podcast, Bill and Ashley's Terror Theater, which, if you can't tell from the title, is a horror-themed podcast. We cover a variety of, do deep dives into a different title every week sort of thing, or, every 2 weeks, depending on our schedule. So we do everything from horror classics to latest releases. We're, about to do a Scream 7 episode. Unfortunately, the listeners demanded.
The politics of that will be definitely.
Oh, good. This was the warm up for that. And then we've got some cool stuff coming up in terms of some filmmaker guests and stuff like that. So check us out. That's on the Stranded Panda Network and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Awesome. We'll have a link to that in the show description. So check that out after this. And in the meantime, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts to help us with the algorithm. You can follow Andorks on social media at AndorksPod. Send in your questions about the show to andorkspod@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week for part 4 of season 1, episode 7. Later, dorks.
Bye, dorks.